Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So I want to show you today what I think is the epitome, or at least in my opinion, the epitome of being a remix DJ. And that is bringing sounds that weren't meant to be together because they were completely in separate places before. And you go and find them, you think, oh, I wonder if that would work with this. And I like that vocal, how do I make that work? And that's what I want to show you. But also, I want to show you where I make mistakes and how I correct those mistakes. And some of that just comes, I don't know if it's through experience, by ear, you can just tell. I seem to be able to, when I hear something, think, oh, that didn't sound quite as good. And often it's not when I'm mixing it, it's when I record it. I always record a short of what I do because then you get to go back and hear it and think, that wasn't quite as good. So I want to show you that journey in the next few minutes. So let's get started. So, I knew I had this track called All I Need. Now, if I play this, you should recognize this. Really great track. I've got a little bit of echo on here on the RMX, but that shouldn't matter too much.
All I needed was your caress, to be close, to be close, to be close to your heart. All I need.
So I had that vocal, and I kind of thought, how cool would it be if I was making a set and I started off with that somehow? So that was my starting point. Now, part of my process when I do this, when I load these acapellas, as you know, when you load a track onto your decks for the first time, you don't have any markers, any cue points. That bit is trial and error. I went all over this track to try and find what I thought were the bits that I wanted to capture. For the most part, at least with me, I don't just hit play, old DJ joke, at the start of something, i.e. on the acapella, and let it just play through. It would probably work and fit, you know, everything works in a certain time. So if I started it at the right point of a track, it would probably go at the right bits. But for me, that's not what it's about. So thing one, when I do this, is when I'm working with an acapella, I want to find the interesting bits. And actually where I start is not often where I finish. Where I finish with this acapella is, I've got what you just heard there, and that'll be that first bit, because it feels catchy. It feels like when you hear that, you go, okay, I know that track. So the first one I lay down as my first cue point A.
All I needed was your caress, to be.
And that's going to be doing its job. Now, as other things build, and we'll get on to how this builds in a second, where I've ended up with this is when I press cue point C, it comes to a point which is nice and repetitive. You know, when a track's going and you're building that energy and then you want a little bit of repetition before it releases. I found this part in the track that just seemed to get that sentiment.
Just give me a little. Just give me a little.
So you can see there how when I hit the cue again, I can have that repeat a couple of times as something else is building up. Now that's okay, there's nothing much going on with that. Yeah, I've got some reverb on at the moment. I've got a little bit of echo on here, but I'm going to show you how I make that far more interesting. That's my starting point. So let's move on to the next part. You need a track to go with this, and this bit can be a bit trial and error. Now, I was going through a load of tracks that I just bought, and when I go through Beatport, you're trying to find a certain sound, a certain feel, so you can get to that point. Now, it just happened to be that when I played the track I'm about to show you, I just started feeling that it went so well with this acapella, the two would work. It wasn't the end of the story, but it would work. So if I play this track, let's go from here. Oops, didn't mean to start that one. Now, I don't know when you heard that, whether you started to piece the two together. I might have given the game away because I started playing that track by mistake. But when I heard that, and I knew I had this one already loaded, I was like, yes, these two will work somehow. But for me, that still isn't what I think remix DJing is about. You can take an acapella, you can load it onto another track, you can have the two going and it works, you can jump about a little bit. But I still like to add a bit more. And maybe that's because I've invested in the extra deck, so you feel like you've got to use it a bit. But still, when I add that extra layer, I think that's me putting my stamp on it, just to make it that little bit different again. So that's what I want to show you this next bit, with what I thought would work with these two bits. So over here, there's a track called Hanging On. Now you'll know the vocal from this. If I get it to a certain point, you should know the vocal. Now that's a sick track on its own. However, and this is where the hunting, I suppose you call it the digging for sounds, comes in. Sometimes I find sounds over here, but sometimes there are such cool sounds as part of other tracks that you just steal. As it happens, I'm going to use that track in the mix, but what I really wanted this track for was this. Ready? Does that not just create some drama before we've even started? Now that's part of somebody else's track. They've created that drama, but I want to use it. So the idea I had was I've got that, what do you call it? That grumble. That I thought, if I was going to start a mix, how much atmosphere could I create by using that noise that you heard, along with the vocal, All I Need, and then with this track. That's my starting point. So I started playing about with it and putting it together, and I'm going to show you at the end of this how it all sounded. But even as you're doing that, there's still problems that can arise. Things that just don't work. And this is what you've got to be careful of. It isn't just putting these things together and expecting that works. So what happened was, when I'm playing this, what's it called? In Lakesh, which is going to be the main track, you've got quite a heavy low on the track Hanging On, which sounds great, but it kind of interfered with In Lakesh when the drop came. So much so that it meant that I didn't get the impact. And I have made that mistake before when you're making mashups. It all sounds great, the drop comes, but you've got so much going on that the frequencies are a little bit cloudy and you don't get that kick pushing through. So I noticed that. And if I show you it, let's see if we can do this. We'll play it up to it. I'll keep it as it is. And then you tell me whether you think that's cloudy or not. Now, I don't think that sounded too bad. It's there, it's that extra layer, but don't forget, I've still got this other, the other sounds coming on over here with All I Need. And when I put all three together, it just felt a little bit too heavy. So, and I think this is the important part of being a remix DJ. It's all very well having all your sounds that you're using, but you've got to be prepared to manipulate what you've got in front of you on your mixer, whether that's taking out the lows. In this case, I just applied a bit of high pass filter to Hanging On. When it drops, it just takes out some of that low and it allows the kick of this to drive through a little cleaner while still having that atmosphere that comes with this. The other bit was, when you're doing all this, I'm never afraid to mess about with my trims. I know when I first started DJing, it was like, set your trims right at the top and then leave them because I didn't want to be disturbed by anything else. Right now, when I'm mixing, I'm all over, right from my faders, my up faders, the effects on the mixer, but also up to my trim, just to make sure that the balance is right. But this, I got this and I absolutely love this. The RMX on All I Need, I've been using something called gate drive, and then I go to transroll as well, just to allow me to do something with these vocals, to lift them and move them about a bit. So when the kick of this comes through, when I take out the effects that I'm using, it all comes clean again. And that seemed to work. So that's what I've been doing. Now, who cares? You can make let's use all my decks. So I've not used the sampler in this case. What am I going to do when I need to mix out? And this is the other beauty that I think of remix DJing. I will either, when I'm doing this, have a track, a something, an acapella or a sound, and I'll be using extras over here, which allows me to load in the new track to mix out of on the spare deck. Now in this case, if you're watching carefully, I've got this with the coming through, I've got this track playing, and I've got all I need. But what I'm going to show you in a second is, and this is how I'm going to start this mix I'm going to be doing, this is still a track. When I let this track play, it's absolutely phenomenal. But there is a certain way I want to get to there. And for me as a remix DJ, it's not about queuing up the first beat or even the first 16 beats or the first 32 beats. It's about playing the track in the way that suits the feeling that I'm trying to convey to the dance floor or how I want this to go down. So let me show you what I mean by that. So over here, we've got, I don't know how well you can see, I'm back over here again. I've got 3 cues. Happens to be this one over here is playing that sound. I've also got that on a loop, which for this I've been using because it's made it a bit easier. But also, if you can see down here on cue point B, I've got, if you see where my cue point E is and the sounds I'm using, A is also over this, that's all later in the track. Cue point B is all the way back here. Now why have I put that all the way back there? That's because I want to use that sound, with this track in Lakesh, with this acapella, but this is also my escape track. So I want to be able to play this track, but play it in full when the time is right. Which means I'm going to start later on, it's going to be going, and then I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start back at the start, whilst also using this track in Lakesh as the percussion. Let me show you quickly how I do that as well. So now if you can focus down here, you can see all my cues. Somewhere, let's see, yeah. So when this track's playing, let me just get out of here. This has been playing a little while, and you'll see in a second when I do it. It's going to come to a point where it's going to come to a breakdown. Now, breakdown's quite a cool point because quite often in these tracks, they've got their own hats, their own claps, their own percussion, but without that kick. Well, that's just like doing something on my MPC, ready-made. So if you can find a cool point in a breakdown, it then means that you can use that as your transfer point onto the other track. So on here, as it comes to the breakdown, I already know where I want to engage a loop. So I'll show you how it comes. So hopefully you can see where some of this is starting to go. That part of that breakdown in that track, what a cool little loop to use. But what's even cooler is using that loop on the track that I'm going to be mixing out of. So everything feels different, yet it feels the same. Same, but different. So that's why I like remix DJing. I don't feel that you go from one to the next to the next. You're kind of blending everything together, that things will feel familiar, yet everything's moved on to the next bit. And then that familiarity comes back. And for me, that's where that drive comes from. Anyway, I think that's what makes it sound good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what will be the first, I guess when I do this, the first 5 minutes of this set that I'm putting together. And that starts by using this part of the track over here to give that feeling, that sense of something's coming, with this acapella, with this track in Lakesh, which just kicks off the mix going, but then how I move back to hanging on, and then get it right back to the start of the track without you even noticing. So hopefully it goes well and you like it. So let's see how it goes.
All I needed was your caress, to be close, to be close, to be close to your heart. All I needed was your caress, to be close, to be close, to be close to your heart. All I needed was your caress, to be close, to be close, to be close to your heart.
So that's how that all comes together. I was doing a bit on the RMX, and I appreciate you can't see this that well, but I've got, and on most mixers you will have this. I used a combination of Transroll, which most mixers have. Now I don't think all mixers have gate drive. Some do, some don't. Gate drive on the acapella, just to give it that dirty feeling and cut clean, and then using Transroll just to repeat the vocals when it came to it with a little before I came back. And then hopefully you'd have heard how I then came across by releasing what was, if we come back over here, this. That had been playing, but I'd had the filter just moved over slightly on it, just to take out some of the clash with the other track. And as it was playing, it gets to a point where I release it and it's just the track playing. And it can build up on its own. I was also with the, I was just also with this acapella over here, building it up, turn the echo on it, making it a bit cloudier, making it feel like something was coming. So when this dropped in and I got rid of that, I already had this as my main track playing. It was playing with the previous track on loop, but as part of the next track. And then that's how you move on to the next bit. And then, yeah, of course, now that's empty. I've got this with that. I can then start to think about where I'm going to go to next. How's my next part of my mix going? And I start load on the track. So thank you. Hopefully that wasn't too long. I was just trying to explain what's kind of in my mind as I put together these, I don't know what you call them, these things. As I put together the sounds, how I go from start to finish. And then, yeah, when it becomes that mix at the end and everything's just working really well, it doesn't just happen. You have to take a bit of a journey to get there. Lots of trial and error. I stand behind you so much. Just listening to things, just trying different things out and going, well, that doesn't work. Sometimes I start telling myself, you're no good at this. Can't believe you can't make anything. And then suddenly out of nowhere, boom, it works. So thank you. Hopefully you got a little bit from that. And yeah, thanks for coming back if you've been watching any of these. And if you're new here, thank you also. Please consider subscribing and I'll be back with some more in a week or two. Thank you.